Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the After the Frame podcast. My name is Malik, and I'm joined, as always, by.
Hi, I'm Matt.
And today we are going to be going over and reviewing Wuthering Heights. And we're also going to be doing a few of the activities that we've been doing the past few episodes as well. But to kick us off, we're going to go over our, news, any type of headlines that we had. I'll go ahead and just share mine. It's pertaining to, and I'll get your take on it. Clayface being delayed a month, and then also fans' backlash about not seeing a trailer or really getting any updates on the Lantern show for the DCU. We still don't have like a date when that's coming out. Do you think it's right for fans to be a little bit concerned about these things or not really?
Yes and no. Clayface, I'm not worried about because I think a month isn't going to kill anybody. I mean, if it's quality of life stuff to improve the quality of the project, I have no issue with that. Lanterns, I do think is a different depth because it all depends on when it's coming out, and that even this far it hasn't been said. It sounds like production is done, but they haven't rolled out the marketing or anything for it outside of like the 10-second snippet they showed in like HBO's like 2026 preview or whatever. I want to say, I don't recall if it was originally supposed to come out before Supergirl, but now it's being led to believe that it's going to come out between Supergirl and Clayface. But my assumption would be, hey, if you're doing that, market it now. But I mean, based on the direction they're going, it may very well come out after Clayface. So I do get the concern from that aspect, but Clayface I'm not worried about.
Yeah, I think that it's what I was theorizing was perhaps something in Supergirl might have something to do with Lanterns, perhaps. They were never clear on when, as you said, Lanterns was coming out. So that to me makes it seem as though, maybe James Gunn and all the writers that he kind of has at DCU, where they're structuring out this whole universe and like, this one storyline for the whole universe. Maybe they have like a little bit of, a little bit more wiggle room to like move projects around. It's not like how the MCU was, where it was like, Iron Man comes out this and it leads into this and leads into that. So maybe there's like a little bit of that, but I just wanted to get your take on it because, fans have been getting a little bit anxious about that type of thing. Did you have a headline you wanted to discuss? Okay, so we can head straight into the activities. You want to do your tenable first?
Yeah, this one I tried re-racking my memory, and I don't think we've done it. I don't recall what exactly we did for the Oscars episode. I want to say it was Best Actor. My challenge for you is to name the 10 movies that won Best Picture from 2010 to 2019. I didn't want to go super recent.
Okay. Yeah, we definitely did best. I think I did Best Actor, if I recall correctly. But yeah, I'll give it a go.
All right, let me get
I have to start racking my brain now.
When I came up with the list, like I could probably get half pretty easily, and then the others I was like, oh wait.
I'm struggling to even think. Let me see. 2010, 2011. I'm just gonna start naming random things that I know were like kind of Oscar baity around those times. Most of these like Best Picture nominees and stuff like that, I don't watch them. So let's see.
Let me know. Start the timer.
Yeah, I'm good. Good.
All right, timer is going now.
Dallas Buyers Club.
First strike.
And this will be a quick one. All I'm thinking of is like the people who won Best Actor. That's all I remember. Yeah, I don't even remember what the hell came out in 2018. Only thing I remember in 2018 and 2019 was Endgame and Infinity War, and they never get Oscar nominations. Not Dallas Buyers Club. Lincoln?
Nope. Second strike.
Okay, let's just finish it off and say Milk.
Okay. So starting from newest to oldest, which is where I struggled. So 2019 was Parasite.
Okay.
2018 was Green Book, which I think was a controversial winner.
I'm so stupid. I didn't say the La La Land one. The whole Moonlight and Moon, that whole thing.
Yeah. The Shape of Water was 2017.
Mm-hmm.
Moonlight was 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Spotlight was 2015. Fun fact, I wrote a paper about that in high school. Birdman was in 2014. 12 Years a Slave in 2013. Argo in 2012. And then these last two definitely tripped me up. The Artist in 2011 and The King's Speech in 2010.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of those movies. No wonder I don't know them.
Any of them?
No, I don't think so.
Slacking.
No, I see what I want to see. Those movies don't interest me. All right, yeah. Well, that was a nice 0 for me. Let's see if you can fare. I'm sure you can fare better on the one that I chose. Mine, going into theme with our review today, is I need you to name me the top 10 highest-grossing romance movies of all time. Let me
Okay.
know whenever.
Of all time?
All time.
Okay.
All right, ready?
Yeah. Fire it
3,
up.
2, 1. Your time is going now.
So this is a very wide pot, but I kind of have an idea. First one I'm going to knock out Titanic.
That is number 1.
Okay. Are any of the Twilight movies on there?
It's for you to guess.
Lord. Well, okay, thinking box office. Is the last Twilight movie on there?
Yes, number 4.
Is the first one on there?
That is your first strike. Twilight itself is not on there. You got 2 minutes and only 1 strike.
Is Mamma Mia on that list?
Yes, number 8.
Eight. Okay. If that's number 8, I don't know what's in between. Beauty and the Beast.
Number 2.
Is that the original or the live action one?
Live action.
Wow, okay.
45 seconds. And you still have 1, 2, 3. Yeah, you still have 6.
I'm cooked. How many misses? 2? 1?
One misses. So
One.
or one
Okay.
miss. Number 3. Live action Aladdin.
I'm trying to think what other live action Disney ones are on there.
20 seconds. 5 seconds.
Pancakes.
That's your second strike. I'm afraid that's not a film. Or maybe it is. So you were on the right track with Twilight. If you had literally named every other movie in the saga, you would have gotten majority of them. So going down, so we had Titanic at number 1, Beauty and the Beast, live action, number 2, live action Aladdin, number 3. We had Breaking Dawn Part 2, which is the last one at number 4. Breaking Dawn Part 1, because remember, this is when they were doing the whole Part 1, Part 2 nonsense, is number 5. New Moon is number 6. Eclipse is number 7. Then we got Mamma Mia at 8. Forrest Gump at 9. And 50 Shades of Grey at 10.
I forgot about 50 Shades. Forrest Gump? I wouldn't call Forrest Gump a
I also was
romance
very much, I thought that was more of a drama, but it's in the list that I looked up. On 2 different lists, actually, it had it the same in the top
Dang.
10.
Dude, if the first and the last Twilight were on there, then yeah, I totally would have gone for all of them. But the first one not being on there,
Yeah, the
threw me
first
off.
one for some reason just didn't make it, but literally every other movie in the saga did.
Threw me off. Oh well.
But still pretty good. All right, now let's do blind rankings. I'll go first on this one. Mine is similar to the one we did last episode. It is blind rank based off of acting ability. You liked how your list turned out the last time. You might detect a little bit of a pattern in the people I name for this one, so you can kind of figure out where it's going as the list goes on.
Okay.
The first name I'm going to give you is Amanda Seyfried.
I do really like her.
She's
I'm
good.
gonna say 3.
Okay, let me write that down. Amanda Seyfried. 3. Paul Dano.
4. Contrary to Quentin Tarantino's footsteps.
4. I mean, he'd probably put him at 5. I think that Paul Dano at 4 is still pretty low. Gary Oldman.
I'm gonna go 1.
Makes sense. Okay, so you have 2 and 5 remaining. Tom Hiddleston.
Honestly, 5.
Okay.
He's great as Loki, but like I can't really think of anything beyond Loki.
Okay. Well, you'll be happy to know that at 2 you have Awkwafina.
Fuck!
So, yeah.
I knew there was a wild card, and I thought Tom Hiddleston.
So, Awkwafina at number 2. So, right, you got Gary Oldman, Oscar winner. Awkwafina. I don't know anybody who really cares for her. Amanda Seyfried at 3, Paul Dano at 4, and Tom Hiddleston at 5.
So yeah,
The real headline is that Alden just likes Awkwafina that much. Puts her up there with the Oscar-nominated people. So.
Okay. Ideally, take 3, 4, and 5 and
Bump them up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Man, I should have known better.
Yeah, you put yourself in a position. It was good that you put Gary Oldman at 1, but yeah, having 2 and 5, you never know what that last one's going to end up being. So.
Yeah.
But,
well.
All right, what's your, what blind ranking you got?
So I wanted to stay in the classic literature, Gothic, prestigious novel realm and look at 5 films or 5 novels that were adapted into film. I've seen all of these. I'm curious to hear how many you have seen and what your ranking is. So,
All right, let's
5.
hear it.
So the first one on the list, The Shining.
4. I recently rewatched that on IMAX last year during Halloween, and I don't think that movie holds up. That's my hot take. I don't not other than Jack Nicholson and like the iconic stuff within the movie, like here's Johnny and all the different callbacks that other movies make to it. I wasn't a fan, but 4, we'll see.
Okay.
It wasn't terrible, but we'll leave it.
Pride and Prejudice.
I watched that last week for Valentine's Day weekend for the first time actually. I'll say 3,
Dracula.
2,
Okay. The Great Gatsby.
1.
And then Jane Eyre.
Yeah, never seen it, so that makes sense. 5. I've seen all the other ones, but yeah, I
Okay.
like that list. That's not bad.
Yeah, that's a good list.
Yeah,
I think
I
the
can live
only
with that.
thing I would do, like, I would probably bump
The Shining up.
yeah, I'd probably swap that and Pride and Prejudice.
Okay.
But yeah, otherwise, good
Yeah,
list.
pretty good list. Yeah, I'm a big fan of The Great Gatsby. I really like that one. All right, cool. All right, now we're gonna transition over into some hot takes. So let's hear the ones that you got.
Yeah, I mean, I tried sticking kinda around the theme of what we're gonna talk about from the film.
Hmm.
Topics of obsession, drama, legacy, big feelings, but also like prestige adaptations from novel to book or from novel to film. My first one is that I think Hollywood needs to stop making IP expansions in franchises, media, anything, and start making IP like interpretations. And what I mean by that is I think if you're adapting something classic, like I don't want something that's the safest version that checks canon boxes. I want a strong point of view from the director or writer, the people creating their take on the film, even if it pisses off purists of the original, the novelization, whatever. I think if your adaptation doesn't risk being argued about or for, you didn't adapt it, you really just kind of reenact.
I'm in the boat that I really want Hollywood to now stop just doing IPs, like just remakes in general. Last year we had the How to Train Your Dragon live action, and we also had the live action for Lilo and Stitch. My issue with those types of movies, and I've said this before, is that when you do them, to me, it's either you're gonna do them in a way that's going to not do the original justice, which is what Lilo and Stitch did. They decided to change a very big plot point within it, making Jumbo the villain, and that kind of just I didn't like that choice, so then it like makes me not like the movie. And then you can go the route of How to Train Your Dragon, where it's basically a bar for bar remake. And then in that case, you can also argue, well, then why would I not just watch the original anyway? So I find it's just like a weird thing to me with these IPs and all of that. I understand what you're trying to say, that it's like at least if they're going to adapt it, dare to, do something a little bit different. But for me, I just would prefer the ingenuity of just new ideas, just new things. But after a few years, like things keep on coming and going. Like after 20 some years, you have remakes. We'll definitely have another James Bond in the next 5 years, I'm sure. Those things I understand. But if it's just going to be the next James Bond, whoever they cast, and it's going to be a like for like remake of the Daniel Craig ones, then I find that to be just stupid.
Yeah, I mean, I think to your point, it is probably a little harder to reinvent the wheel with something that's already been, a medium in film or animation, like Lilo and Stitch or How to Train Your Dragon. Like you're taking the same story, but you may be converting from animation to live action or the other way around. And how do we make effectively that same movie without retelling the same bar for bar story? I think my argument works in all facets, but I do think it probably geared towards more like the book realm. Because I
Mm,
mean, at that point, you're really adapting. Like I'll use Wuthering Heights as an example. Like there have been lots of adaptations, but you can really just use the book as your guide. So
yeah. I mean, we'll get into it when we get into the review, but I mean, from the reviews that I've read and I've watched, the people that are fans of the book are pissed at this movie, which is why it's getting such bad reviews. Apparently, it's nothing like the book and the casting was off and so on and so forth. So, as somebody who's never read the book, I didn't go in with this type of way of looking at it. So, sometimes it can be good, sometimes it can be bad. So, obviously, this director and, people who wrote this movie wanted to change certain things, make it maybe more cinematic. And obviously, now the people who are fans of the book don't like it. It's happened with Harry Potter, same thing with even Twilight, what we just talked about. Like people that are just fans of the books, they end up changing something, then you're not going to be able to please everyone at the end of the day, I guess.
Right.
So, but I understand where you're coming from, though. Regardless, I agree that if they must adapt something from like a book, say, then yeah, don't just make it exactly the same. Like improve in something that you saw, like maybe an issue in the book when you're reading it or something like that. Yeah. What's your next hot take?
So, next one, I see a lot of people online arguing about both sides of this. And I think we're entering a chemistry drought type era because movies keep casting two hot people and calling it romance, but finding the actual chemistry between the two is rare. And when it's missing, I think the whole movie just feels like a table read with better lighting.
Hmm.
But I feel like studios, directors, like they're not taking the time to find like a great pairing. And I think that's the difference between a terrible movie, a mid movie, a solid movie, and an instant classic. I won't say how I feel about the chemistry between these two yet. We'll dive into that. But just speaking about kind of this realm in general, I think it seems to be the largely popular way to, hey, who's the most attractive stars we can throw in? Get them signed to a deal right now. And it's just like, mm,
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of how Hollywood is. It's gotten obviously a lot more lazy now. So, whatever, I think I forgot what actor it was, but I remember they said in like an interview that I don't even remember if it was Netflix was the studio. There was a studio that they worked for, and they said that they were basically just casting based off of how many followers you have on Instagram. Like, that's kind of just where Hollywood is at. Like, if they know that, like, say, I don't know, like Bad Bunny, for instance, he's not an actor, but I know that like having him in a movie would gain a lot of like traction. Hollywood wouldn't care that he might not be a great actor or something. They just want like their money. And so it doesn't really matter. Chemistry, acting, all that type of stuff. I think, as you said, it's just the big names and it can come off like a table read. I think that was very well put. But yeah, we'll get into Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi in this movie later on. But I get where you're coming from for sure. Yeah, it would be better if they took the time to do test screenings or what are they called? Not test screenings, chemistry like readings, I guess.
yeah.
James Gunn did it with Rachel Brosnahan and David Cornsweet, and everybody really liked their Lois Lane and Clark Kent. It was really good. So it's still done by the people who want to, I guess.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, it worked out well for Superman. I remember they had like, I want to say 3 different pairs, and they would like alternate within that pair and
Hmm.
just narrow it down from there.
Yeah, that's a smart way to do it, especially if I don't know, the romance is gonna be leading the whole movie and you're gonna have this couple kinda be in the forefront of everything. It just makes sense. So
Yeah. My last hot take here kinda rallies back to the first one, but it's also a little bit more of a jab at Wuthering Heights. And I think prestige movies, anything that's been adapted over and over, they are scared of being messy. And honestly, that's why so many of them feel forgettable. Like I said, like I do kind of want something bold and slightly unhinged over something, tasteful and polite. But like for this one specifically, like if your movie is about obsession, betrayal, revenge, heartbreak, it should feel a little dangerous, not like it went through 5 rounds of focus group therapy.
okay. All right, yeah, I can get behind that. Well, as you said, we'll get more into it, I feel like, in
Yeah,
in the review itself. We don't wanna, you know, jump the gun on that. But yeah, that's your last hot take then?
yeah,
All right, cool. Well, I mean, that's a good segue. I guess we'll just start talking straight about our review and our thoughts, what worked and what didn't work. For me, I will say that, like I was mentioning before, I enjoyed the movie seemingly a lot more than a lot of other people. I'm not huge into like romance movies, but what I have realized after I watched this movie and then the next day I ended up watching Pride and Prejudice. And there are a lot of similarities between the two. They're not exactly the same, but it's like a time period, like a timepiece type movie or a period piece, sorry. And it has like it's like specifically British, which I enjoy that type of dry sense of humor that they have and the old timey way of the British talking everything. So like I feel like if you like that type of movie, you'll like it. But I never read the book, so I didn't have any allegiance to any characters, any of the storylines like some people did, so I can understand their frustration. But how did you feel going in and then also walking out? Like, how'd you feel?
So I'm gonna tell a story before I lead into that. So
Okay.
I know kind of like in past couple weeks we had kind of like talked about doing this. Once we fully committed, I was actually like damn, I have to go see this in the theater. This was a movie that I knew was coming out that looked really well shot
Hmm.
and I had an interest in, but I'm like I can just rent it later on. I'm in no rush.
Yeah, it'll be
And
on
then
HBO Max in like 2 weeks probably.
yeah. And then we were like, "Hey, let's do it for this episode." I'm like, "Okay." And so I remember I booked my tickets in advance for Friday the 13th at my local Regal. You know, day before Valentine's Day. It'll be fine. Oh my god. I was in a sold out theater. I know your experience was different. I was in a sold out theater, solo dolo, surrounded by couples and single women the day before Valentine's Day, and everybody was fangirling the whole movie. I just kind of sat there. I'm just like, but I had no real expectations for like how the movie was actually going to go. I had read a decent amount of good, a decent amount of bad, and I'm like, let me just see it and see how it goes. And I'll save exact review thoughts for the end, but it's not as good as Pride and Prejudice, but it's not as bad as some of the discourse that's being spread among the internet now. So,
Yeah, I get where you're coming from with that. My theater experience, I saw it in IMAX. I believe I saw it Thursday. Um, and it wasn't packed, but there were a good amount of people. It reminded me of when I went to go and see the what's it called, the Housemaid movie. It was very similar to that, where it was like how you said, like people fans of the books, like a lot of girls were in there. So it reminded me of that, but it wasn't nearly as packed, I guess, because I didn't see it exactly the day before Valentine's Day or on Valentine's Day. But overall, yeah, I mean, now we can get more into our actual thoughts about it. For what works, you want to go ahead and talk about yours?
yeah. So, for those listening and watching, we actually kind of compiled thoughts ahead of time. You gave me what you had jotted down. And so,
Hmm.
some points I do agree with, but I actually wrote my notes in a different direction. So, we have more to talk about. So, for me, my first point, we've kind of gone on and on about how this is another adaptation of the same novelization, things like that. And I do think the retelling angle in this film actually has substance. I haven't seen any of the other ones, but the to me this isn't just, same story, prettier pictures. It really feels like the film is trying to interrogate, obsession, cruelty, and longing in a more, modern psychological way. And it went a lot deeper than I expected.
I also haven't seen the other remakes or the other reimaginings, but I can agree that, yeah, it did for sure have substance to it. I don't know, based off of this movie, I'm so surprised as how many adaptations it's had, as I feel like the plot is not like one that it's like, oh, a tale as old as time. It just needs to keep on being retold for generation to generation. But for some reason, I guess because it's, the romance genre is like more, I guess you could say, niche, and there's, like not many people are just making new romance movies. I guess they just keep on pulling from it. But I can agree with that. And my first thing was just very basic. I just wanted to shout out the acting in the movie. Other than like Jacob Elordi, I didn't think he did bad, but I think that this kind of ties into a little bit of what you were saying with a little bit of the chemistry. There were some times where I felt the chemistry was there and some not, but I felt it was more Margot Robbie pulling more of the weight in the movie than him, although he did like good for the part that they gave him. And then this movie also has like a lot of side characters. You got Margot Robbie, her father. You have like all the people that work for him, the people that work for her new husband actually. And I feel like everybody. It felt like almost like I was watching a play at times, but I thought like everybody who all the small parts and even all the big ones were acted really well. What did you think of the acting?
Yeah, I mean, for me, the acting was pretty on point. And then one of my other points was that the central relationship between Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi was actually pretty compelling in concept. The push pull dynamic that they had going on back and forth, it's strong enough to keep you locked in for a while because you as the audience do ultimately want to see what the movie says about these people. And yeah, I mean, it was cool just seeing different people pop up in and out, like the one gentleman who was like also working for Margot Robbie's father,
Mhm.
the other boy with like the broom, and he did the nastiness in the barn or whatever.
Yeah.
That was Aegon Targaryen from House of the Dragon. So it was kind of funny not seeing him with like long blonde locks and an eye patch and a sword. So it's just like, and like his character is a shithead in that show. So it's just like, okay. But no, I mean, it did. I do see your point. It did feel a lot like a play, just kind of throwing people in, and
Yeah.
like not a bad way.
No, yeah, not definitely not in a bad way. I wasn't trying to make it seem like that. You just reminded me of something just for like the general audience in case people are listening to this and thinking, waiting for our thoughts before they actually go and watch it. A lot of people told me before this movie that, oh, this movie's like 50 Shades of Grey. It's really sexy. It has all of these like graphic sex scenes. It really doesn't. That you just mentioned that scene with that actor where they're kind of in the barn, and to me that's like the sexiest scene in the movie, and it has nothing to do with the main two actors. It's literally them just kind of watching them have sex by accident. They kind of get like Margot Robbie kind of happens upon them in the barn or whatever. But I feel like the movie, if you're going in there and you're just like, oh, I'm going in there for to see 50 Shades of Grey and all these things, I don't think you're going to be very happy with what you get, but it doesn't take away from the movie, but don't go in with those
Yeah, it's
expectations.
not like a horny, like, monkey with a baseball bat upside the head, like, type, but
Correct.
it's definitely freaky. It's got a little,
Yeah, well,
it's just, ugh.
yeah, it definitely has some scenes between Jacob Elordi and Marco Robbie that yeah, it's a little definitely sexual, but not to the degree of what people are warning me about beforehand. My next point was, and I believe you had something similar as well, set design, costumes, cinematography. It was when my girlfriend suggested, oh, let's go and watch this in IMAX. I was like, really? Wuthering Heights? Like, I didn't think of that. Like, when I think of IMAX, I'm thinking this year, Project Hail Mary, the Odyssey, but I never thought of that. But I was wrong. Like I watched it and like the set designs were so beautiful. The costuming for the time period that they were in was really well done. And the cinematography itself, like some of the landscape shots were really, really beautiful as well. What did you think about how the movie looked overall?
Yeah, I mean, for me, kinda combining my 2 points I had jotted down, from a cinematography and visual language standpoint, like, the camera work is probably the movie's strongest weapon. I mean, you got moody compositions, you've got really striking framing, and, like, this overall Gothic feel that kinda makes the environment look haunted before anything even officially happens. And then atmosphere and tone control of the film as a whole, it does kind of maintain a heavy, like suffocating vibe for most of the runtime. But even when scenes are just quiet, like there's really this constant sense of dread and inevitability as the film just kind of takes you all over the place. Like even from the opening, like where they're just kids and you're getting a little bit of background on like how they grew up and things. It's like you are always kind of like on the tipping point, like things are, you're about to jump off and see where things go.
Yeah, I think that, like you said, the camera work, and not even just the camera work, but like overall, just how the movie looks and was shot, like you mentioned, really just plays in. It's almost like a separate character in and of itself, which I thought like made the movie very compelling and a little bit different as well. And then what was your next point?
Yeah, my last positive was really kind of commending this film for having a clear directorial point of view. Even when I don't agree with every choice that was made in this film, it doesn't feel like anonymous in a way. Like it felt that Emerald Fennell, the director, had an identity for what she wanted to do with this film. And it felt like it was made by her with a specific lens and a willingness to be polarizing with her take on this. Um, and kinda adding more to that, so, like, Emerald Fennell has directed a couple movies. Her most well-known, probably outside of this, is probably Saltburn, which a lot of people, like, were caught off guard by. I actually really liked that movie. Like, despite it being Freakazoid 10,000 over there, it tells in my opinion, much better story than this. But, same pros go. Like, cinematography, the atmosphere, the story's a lot better, and the performances you get, like, Jacob Elordi's in that too, and he's just as compelling. But yeah, I mean, I think for sake of this film, the directorial work, major props.
And what's so interesting about that is that, like we mentioned before, all the people that have been bashing the movie that saw the book, they're bashing this director for having the vision that she had, obviously, to do the changes. But I really would implore people to go and watch the movie and make their own conclusions. I don't know how many people have seen it, sorry, read the book or not read it, but go and check it out and see if you like what they changed, what they didn't, but don't go based off of all of the terrible reviews that are going on. I don't think the movie is nearly as bad. For me, I have three more that I'll just kind of wrap up before we go into the stuff that didn't work for us. The music, another thing that I've been seeing, Charlie XCX is the one who did the music for this, and people have been bashing that as well. For me, I thought like seeing this kind of movie where it is sort of like a Pride and Prejudice. It was different in a good way to me. It like just brought the movie to life in a different way. It's not the type of composition that you're getting like, like something from Christopher Nolan's movies. It's not going to be, a John Williams score. It's something that just added to the movie to me in like a fun way that I thought was just very interesting. So I wanted to shout that out. And the next thing I had was the over the top dramatics. At times, it felt like I was watching like a telenovela, which is just kind of how the movie, the genre is. It's very like people are doing very dramatic stuff and doing things that are very emotionally driven. But I thought that added to the movie in and of itself. And the last thing I had was the humor in the movie. I didn't expect to laugh as much as I did in the movie. And I thought like quite a few of the characters were pretty funny. Some of the lines that were written were pretty funny. So I was very surprised by that. I thought it was going to be kind of a more, level-headed, just straight-laced movie. I didn't think there was going to really be any humor, but I was surprised. So that was the last thing I wanted to shout out before we head to the negatives.
Yeah, no, all great points.
All right, what's your first negative?
So for me, I don't think the third act really landed emotionally well. I think once you hit that third act and you're in the final stretch, it feels like it's aiming for a gut punch, but in my opinion, it didn't really fully earn the payoff. So instead of the impacts being, devastating, it's just kind of like, okay, like that's where we're going. And it just
Mhm.
kind of, it's the third act and then things just drop. And kind of diving with that, I do think the screenplay kind of pulls its punches a little bit because the film at times does hint at going further, being nastier, more daring, more unhinged. Maybe that's in the 4-hour director's cut.
Mhm.
But then it chooses restraint at the exact moment it needed commitment and the direction for them to go.
I mean, that I can agree with you, but that ties into my first thing. I think the pacing was a little off for me. I'm wondering if maybe because maybe the book was a bit longer, perhaps. There were a few times I want to say, if I remember correctly, it was two or three times that we had a time jump. It jumped from this time to 1 year, and then it jumped all the way to 5 years. I felt as though because it was jumping so quickly in time multiple times within the movie, to me, like you said, like maybe that added to the third act not like landing the way it could have. I mean, we don't see Heathcliff for 5 years and he returns back and all these things, but we don't really miss him because we just saw him. And then it's like they're supposed to be
And it's like,
conveying.
he's coming back too. Like, it's just kind of like,
Yeah.
when? Yeah.
So exactly. And then her getting married to another man, like it just, I felt like because of the time jumps, maybe there was a better way to do it. It might have been a longer movie, but I felt like that was kind of, it just made it more jarring, more than anything. So that kind of, affected my viewing of the movie a little bit, which kind of, I think, ties into your third act, not landing. I only had two. That's my first one. My last one, and then I'll let you say the rest of yours, was I felt like the plot was a bit contrived at times. That's more, I guess, on perhaps the book. I don't know exactly how much of the book was adapted into the movie, but I felt like there were a few like conveniences that happened within the movie, but is to be expected in like a drama of this type of magnitude. Like as I said, it's like a telenovela, but it sort of took me out of the movie sometimes, but it wasn't anything that this is more of a nitpick than really something negative. It was just something that I was like, kind of a little bit bothered me. But other than that, I didn't really have anything else that bothered me.
Yeah, I mean, my next 2 points actually kind of feed off of that. So, first one I'll shout out is that I do think the character turns that were taken with this film, they do kind of feel undermotivated at the end. I thought that, some decisions and shifts that we see, they don't really feel like a natural evolution of the film that we've been watching. It kind of feels like the movie needs them to happen to reach the ending, but it's not as natural or conventional as it could have been. And then with that, themes that it sets up, they don't fully crystallize. Like the film goes on setting up big ideas as, love is a poison, but you've got these differences in class, differences on purview of control, what your legacy is going to be. But by the end, it feels like it's circling the point rather than landing it cleanly. And honestly, like, as you mentioned with time jumps and things, I would have liked to see different perspectives. Like, because for the most part, we were kind of really all centralized on, I'm blanking on Margot Robbie's character.
Kathy.
Kathy, thank you. We were really kind of centered in her world, but we saw everything going around her. I would not have been mad to see just even like 2 or 3 minutes background on like Heathcliff. Like we see at the very beginning when he's a kid, like I'm assuming it's his father just kind of like belittles him by the wayside. And then he's picked up by this family and then he becomes this helper, servant, almost like a friend slash brother figure to Kathy and then goes away, and then, yeah, comes back 5 years later looking rich and not at all like how he previously looked.
And they never say how he got rich, by the way. He
Yeah,
just
I
shows up
would've
rich.
I woulda liked to see that, like, what did
I
he
agree.
do to gain that? And then he's like, "Oh, yeah, I bought your father's property." It's like,
Mhm.
"With what money? Like, did you rob a pirate ship? Like, what happened?"
Yeah, he comes back with a gold tooth and a haircut and everything. We don't know what
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's explained in the book, I haven't read the book, I don't think I'll read the book, but who knows?
I like how you put that some of the characters, their turns and their decisions towards the end kinda were, like, a little undercooked. I thought that they could have fleshed out the relationship. They play like, how the movie is basically is that in the beginning, it shows Heathcliff and Kathy as children, and I thought it was interesting that to Kathy, at least, it seemed as though Heathcliff was almost more of her pet than her friend. And she even states it a few times where it's like, like she named him Heathcliff after her like, dead brother. And later on, when he's looking to get married, she's like, "Oh, he can't use that name. I named him." Like she acts like she owns him. So you have like this thing: is it love? Is it like, as you said, obsession? What have you? But she has this companion, a hired companion or helper. I forget her name, but she and Kathy seem to be very close friends when they're kids. Then when Heathcliff kind of gets into the picture, she's kind of pitched off, and you see throughout the movie as they grow to adults, like she still has like a little bit of resentment towards Kathy and even Heathcliff. She has like a big, not like twist, but she has like a big part to play in that third act. But I thought that like in your point that could have been developed a little bit more. She kind of has this, something is figured out by Kathy, and then she kind of has a falling out with this other character I just mentioned, and I felt like it could have had a little bit more, as you said, like it was just so, spun around only Kathy. You never get to see the side characters as much, how they're feeling, what their motivations are. So I 100% agree with that. Definitely could have helped making it. Maybe this was more of a TV show than it was a movie. Maybe that would have helped.
Yeah, I mean, I think even adding like the runtime, it was 2 hours, 16 minutes. I think even
Yeah, it was a long movie.
if you added well, it was a long movie, but, like, I do think if you wanted that's why I mentioned the 4-hour director cut,
Hmm.
the Fennell cut. Maybe if you added, like, round up to the 2.5 mark, like, maybe you've got more of those touched on, or maybe you just yeah, they're just never touched on in the book, and it's just kinda like, left to the wayside. But, yeah, just would've been cool to see.
Yeah, but maybe these things are just made for just like the drama, like it's not really who cares about the characters or whatever. So I don't know, as you
Stir the
said.
pot just to stir the pot.
Right, and we both don't know how the book really goes. More often than not, the book has a lot more detail than movies do, so they're probably
Yeah.
just missing a few things that they just didn't think were cinematic enough. So, and I don't plan on reading the book either, but I'll see if I can talk to somebody who has and who's seen the movie, and maybe they can tell me what happened. But yeah, that's all of my negatives.
Yeah, I'm good on my end.
All right, cool. What did you give it as a final rating?
Final rating, I gave it a 6.5 out of 10.
Nice. I gave it a 7 out of 10. I was close to giving it a 6.5, but how I looked at it, I was like, Actually, when I was watching the movie, yeah, bar those 2 things that I mentioned that I had slight problems with, it wasn't a bad film in my opinion, and I expected it to be a lot more boring than it was, and I was actually thoroughly entertained through a lot of the characters and how bombastic some of them were. So yeah, ultimately I enjoyed myself in the cinema, so I didn't wanna give it a lower rating, so I said, 7 out of 10, pretty decent.
Fair enough.
Would you recommend this to somebody?
I would, but I'd be careful who I recommend it to because, like, I
Mhm,
know, like, this isn't one of those movies you can recommend to just about anybody. Nor is
mhm,
any of her other work. I would be careful to like, ensure they've either read the book or have an understanding of the plot, or like are comfortable with what is being addressed in the film before recommending it. Yeah, I mean, I thought it was okay. I'd say it's more of a like, if you're a big fan of the genre or the book or the actors, then yeah. But I mean, and even if you look at the trailer and you're like, wow, like they're right and the cinematography is great, then yeah, by all means go see it in theaters. If you were just a story driven experience person, then yeah, just wait till streaming, in my opinion.
yeah, I agree with that. Saltburn is, much better, and I think is much freakier than this movie, actually.
Yeah.
So, take that with a with a grain of salt, I guess, before seeing it. But
Hey, be
that
careful. You might get murdered on the dance floor.
good one. Do you have any more thoughts before we sign off on this one?
No, I mean, bottom line up front, kind of what we talked about. Like the film is gorgeous, it's heavy, and it has intent. But yeah, until the ending arrives and the story doesn't hit with the force it's been building toward, it just kind of, But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed.
Yeah, I think it's an enjoyable movie if, like you mentioned, if you're somebody who's a fan of that type of genre. Like, I think if you enjoyed Pride and Prejudice, it's not as good, not as, neat. Like the plot isn't as, like well structured and neat as Pride and Prejudice. But if you're a fan of Pride and Prejudice, then I think like that world is very similar. So I think you'll enjoy it, at least find some value in it. So it all depends. This movie is going to be kind of polarizing because it's just not going to be for everyone. But overall, I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. So, but I think that'll do it for this episode. We will make an announcement for what we will be doing in the next one. If we'll be doing another just activities driven episode, or if we're going to watch something and we're going to review another movie. We got Project Hail Mary's coming out in a few weeks. I'm very excited for that one. I'll be seeing that in IMAX. But yeah, you have anything else before we go?
No, I'm all good.
All righty. Well, then we will catch you all in the next one. Thank you all for listening.
Take care, everybody.